Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock in Trinidad and Tobago. And, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and valued participants, welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Services Industries Doing Business with the World series. And today is a special one. Today we touched on Curacao, where we embark on an exciting journey to explore the vibrant opportunities that the beautiful island has to offer. Now, my name is Joel Julian, and I'm truly honored to serve as your moderator today. And I promise you are going to have an engaging and informative session. As we delve into the exploration, we are privileged to have an esteemed lineup of speakers who will provide us with invaluable insights into doing business in Curacao. We are delighted to kick off our proceedings today with our host, the president of the TTCSI, Mr. Mark Edgell. And that will be followed by the president of the Curacao Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Willem Jonker, who will grace us they will both grace us with their opening remarks. And then to set the stage for our discussion on the economic landscape of Curacao, we have the privilege of hosting Mr. Dennis Dare, the senior economist at the Curacao Chamber, who will enlighten us with his presentation on Curaçao's economic indicators. Now, as we all know, the economic prospects of any region is critical for prospective businesses. And Mr. Dare's expertise will be instrumental in understanding Curaçao's potential. All right. Furthermore, we'll gain valuable insights into the nuts and bolts of doing business in Curacao from Mr. Stephen Damnier, the manager of investment and trade promotion. Now, his expertise in this area will prove to be indispensable for those considering business ventures in Curacao, which I'm sure lots of you are doing. A lot of us are here for that very reason. Right. And for those who are keen, interested in investing in Curacao, we are fortunate to have Ms. Rashida Petronilia, the Marketing and Communication Manager at the Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency, who will provide us with an in-depth look at the investment landscape in Curacao. Now, apart from those things, understanding the tax landscape is crucial when considering business ventures. And to shed light on that matter, we have tax manager attorney Francine da Costa Gomez, who will provide invaluable tax information. And last but not least, we will delve into the import-export sector with Ms. Maria Troman, representing the Association of Curacao Agencies, who will share insights into Curaçao's importers and potential trade opportunities. Now, I hope, like you, when I read that list, I'm sure we're in for a treat today with that, from different angles and different perspectives that Curacao is going to offer us today. But before we delve into the substantive content, let me whet your appetite a little bit with some interesting tidbits about Curacao. This Caribbean prize, with its rich history and stunning beaches, is not only a tourist haven, but a growing hub for international trade. And Curaçao's unique blend of Dutch and Caribbean culture, along with its strategic location in the region, makes it a fascinating place for investment and business opportunities. And I think one of the things that hits the nail on the head for me is when you look at the Curacao national anthem. There's a section that says, "Let us do our part for the island's prosperity. Let us unite forces so we can triumph." And I believe that is what we are here for today, uniting our forces so that we can eventually triumph together. So without further ado, let's begin our journey into the beautiful world of business in Curacao. I invite you all to engage, ask questions for our participants. You will see at the bottom tab of the Q&A section. You can always pose your questions there. Those questions will be answered either during our panel discussion at the end of the presentations or during the course of the presentations itself. So I want us to make this as engaging and as informative as possible. All right, so to kick off our proceedings today, I want to invite Mr. Mark Edgell, the president of the TTCSI, to the podium, our virtual podium, that is. Mr. Edgell, the floor is yours this morning.
Thank you so much, Joel. Good morning.
Morning.
That's Mr. Willem Jonker of the Curacao Chamber of Commerce, the executive of the Curacao Chamber of Commerce, distinguished ambassadors and embassies, representatives, government officials, Ms. Vashti Gaidin, CEO of the TTCSI, members of the board of directors of the TTCSI, partnering associations, sponsors, member associations of the TTCSI, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the latest installment of the TTCSI Doing Business with the World series. A heartfelt thanks, first and foremost, to Mr. Jonker and the executive at the Curacao Chamber of Commerce for all they have done to make today's webinar a reality. Today we'll be stopping off in Curacao, as Joel had mentioned, one of 4 constituent countries within the Kingdom of the Netherlands, as we continue our journey of learning what it takes to do business with other countries around the world. We thank our webinar facilitators for sharing their expertise with us and making us aware of all the opportunities to be explored by our respective entrepreneurs in the services sector. We also expect to learn more about key economic sectors in Curacao, namely tourism, oil refining and bunkering, transportation, and international financial services. Over the past couple of years, Curacao and Trinidad and Tobago have been working assiduously to deepen the strong trade and economic ties they already enjoy. I am referring specifically to the General Framework Agreement signed on November 3rd, 2022, which paved the way for current negotiations on a partial scope trade agreement between our 2 countries. The agreement will cover a range of components, including market access, services, investments, non-tariff measures such as sanitary and phytosanitary measures, and technical barriers to trade and negotiation are expected to be completed by 2026. Curacao has a significant and diversified service-based economy, with tourism, oil refining, financial services, ICT, and bunkering accounting for some 84% of the country's GDP, with 90% of external trade coming from petroleum exports. With respect to tourism, before the pandemic, Caribbean Airlines, our national airline, provided 300 seats per week on direct flights between Trinidad and Tobago and Curacao every Monday and Friday. The arrangement was seen as an opportunity for Curacao to not only expand and strengthen economic ties with Trinidad and Tobago, but to grow its tourism specifically from the Caribbean region. Thousands of Trinidad and Tobago nationals were visiting Curacao right up to the start of the pandemic in 2020, which sadly caused an abrupt halt to this trend and significant economic disruption and losses like most other countries across the globe. Today, 3 years on, Curacao is seen and described as one of the Caribbean's biggest post-pandemic success stories after experiencing record tourism arrivals in 2023. According to the Curacao Hotel and Tourism Association, there were 43,352 stopover tourist arrivals in May 2023 alone, a 21.6% increase compared to May 2022. The resumption in April 2022 of Caribbean Airlines twice-weekly service began between Trinidad and Tobago, and it has been beneficial for tourism business in Curacao. The Curacao Tourism Board confirmed in September this year that the island has reached and surpassed pre-pandemic levels for tourists, especially from Trinidad and Tobago's market, with more than 200% increase compared to 2022. There have been several trade missions between Trinidad and Tobago and Curacao over the years, primarily featuring the manufacturing sector, since negotiations on the partial trade agreement began. We anticipate, after today's seminar, a mission featuring services sector entrepreneurs may not be too far off in the future. This is our hope and our intention. In terms of the trade in goods between Trinidad and Tobago and Curacao, according to the UN Comtrade database on international trade, Curacao exported $4.4 million worth of goods to Trinidad and Tobago in 2021, with the main products being tugboats, carbonates, and excavation machinery. In fact, over the past decade, Curacao's exports to Trinidad and Tobago have increased at an annualized rate of 3.83%. However, in 2021, Curacao did not export any services to Trinidad and Tobago. The UN Comtrade database also notes that in 2021, Trinidad and Tobago's exports to Curacao were valued at $3.76 million. The main products exported were margarine, flavored water, and tissue. In that year, Trinidad and Tobago also did not export any services to Curacao. However, Our facilitators today will soon take us into greater detail about the potential for deepening the trade and services between both our countries. So we're hoping for those numbers to change. We at the TTCSI have been working with our services, SMEs, and entrepreneurs to prepare them to export their services, and in addition to doing business with the World Series. Another important step we took to support our SMEs was creating the National Services Exporters Portal, or NSEP, a portal that allows our Trinidad and Tobago services sector firms to be seen and make connections with service sector firms in other countries around the world, and is a critical pillar supporting this series. As always, I must give a quick reminder to any TNT SMEs who are yet to register on the NSEP. Do so now, and as soon as you possibly can. The NSEP is a powerful tool that will connect you with regional and international firms eager to do business with us. So do not let this valuable opportunity be lost. Also, you're reminded to join us for all future editions of this Doing Business with the World series. By the time our series is over, we would have covered over 28 countries, spanning basically every continent on the globe, all of which are ripe with opportunity and eager to do business, all of whom, like us, are saying we are open for business. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me again to extend heartfelt thanks to the President, Mr. Willem Jonker, and the Executive of the Curacao Chamber of Commerce for their participation today and making today's webinar possible. We at the TTCSI look forward to a long and fruitful friendship with Curacao as we work towards deepening business relationships for the prosperity of services entrepreneurs in both our countries. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to start doing business with Curacao. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edgell. And I agree with you. It is time for us to start doing that business in terms of services, with Curacao. And I think this is a perfect platform to start that conversation and lay the foundation for us to go forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Edgell. All right. On to now Mr. Willem Jonker. Mr. Jonker, better known as Billy, was born in Curacao on December the 9th, 1960. Sagittarius. His ancestors first moved to the island in the 18th century and has been part of the public and private life of the island. Now, he was educated in Curacao and the United States. He started his career in the airline industry and moved to media, working for his family's newspaper business that published a Dutch and Papiamento newspaper. In 1992, he started a publishing company that published an in-room magazine for visitors to the island. He also opened an advertising agency. During that same year, he joined the board of the Hotel and Tourism Association, where he was the vice president from 1999 to 2011. And during his tenure at the association, he joined the board of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association in 1998 through 2016, where he held the position of vice president. And in 2008, he joined the Curacao Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And in 2011, became chairman of the board of the chamber, which he still holds today. Now, Mr. Jonker has held various board and committee positions for numerous organizations locally and internationally, such as the Curacao Development Bank and the Dutch Colombian Chamber of Commerce in Bogota, Colombia, just to name a few. Mr. Jonker, it's a pleasure having you here with us this morning. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
First of all, I would like to thank on behalf of the Curacao Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mrs. Vashti Gayadin, CEO of TTCSI, and her team for inviting us to present Doing Business in Curacao. I'm honored to be here today as the president of the Curacao Chamber of Commerce. An extended and a warm, heartfelt welcome to all distinguished entrepreneurs and investors joining us from Trinidad and Tobago for this informative webinar on the possibilities that await those who wish to engage in business and investment in, with, or through Curacao. The gathering marks a significant moment since it contributes to the commitment to fostering strong economic ties between our two nations. Trinidad and Tobago has long been a valued neighbor and partner, and today we keep on building on this momentum of collaboration. As we convene virtually to discuss the opportunities that Curacao presents, It's impossible not to acknowledge the spirit of cooperation that develops this occasion. We are honored to facilitate several online sessions for Trinidad and Tobago, as well as market research happening accompanied by factual visits, such as the delegation we facilitated in November last year, led by the Minister of Trade and Tobago, the Minister of Trade of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Senator Mrs. Paula Gupi Schoon. Curaçao's unique position as a gateway to the Caribbean, combined with its strategic location, world-class infrastructure, multilingual population, and a business-friendly environment, presents an array of opportunities for investors and entrepreneurs alike. We recognize the strength and expertise that Trinidad and Tobago brings to the table, and we are eager to explore avenues of shared growth, of trade, innovation, and prosperity. Today, the webinar is not just about information, it's about fostering connections, nurturing relationships, and building bridges for the future. It's about creating a dynamic and resilient ecosystem where business can thrive and investments can flourish. So we start with this webinar. Let me take in mind the proactive steps we take in our contact today have the potential to turn into mutual beneficial reality in the aspect of business and investment. Thank you for being part of this momentous occasion, and I look forward to the fruitful discussion and partnerships that will undoubtedly emerge from this webinar. Let us embrace this opportunity to work hand in hand, gathering a brighter and more prosperous tomorrow for both Curacao and Trinidad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jonke, and it's really a pleasure to have you joining us this morning. Just to really focus on some of the words that you left with us, that this webinar is really meant to build connection and build relationship, and I agree with you. I fully agree with you on that. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Jonke. All right. So now, yeah. All right. So one of the things my mother told me is, you shouldn't live life with regrets. But the reality is that I have a bit of regret. So earlier this year, Caribbean Airlines was doing a tour to Curacao, and I was supposed to be a part of that tour, but because of other work commitments, I was unable to do it. So I wasn't able to physically be in Curacao, but I really looking forward to the presentations that we have today, just to learn a little bit more about Curacao and the business climate and the possibilities for partnership and relationship, as Mr. Jonke would have said. All right, so now we go across to Mr. Stephen Damiana, who is the Manager of Investment and Trade Promotion at Curacao Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Now, Mr. Damiana is the manager of the chamber, and it's responsible for promoting general interests of Curacao business community. He's currently, additionally to that current function, is also the local manager for Europe Direct Curacao, a non-profit information center, backed by the European Commission. He has worked previously for several years in the tourism and hospitality industry, additionally to being the managing director of the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International, the Curacao chapter. He has studied international business and languages at the Han in the Netherlands. Now, good morning, Mr. Damiana. It's really a pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Jan. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'll start with my presentation in a little bit. 1 second, please. So my name is Stephen Damiana. I'm Manager Investment and Trade Promotion at the Curacao Chamber of Commerce and Industry. For the ones interested in linking up through LinkedIn, they can scan this. It will come again at the end of the presentation. What I will be going to talk about is about a little bit of introduction about Curacao and the Chamber in general, the market, as well as our Business Information Center, our Entrepreneurship Center. slightly tip on the tourism industry, a little bit of cultural side towards business and negotiations, and then the contact points with the chamber. Introduction to Curacao. So we're south of the Caribbean between Aruba and Bonaire, in front of the coast of Venezuela. The surface area is 444 square kilometers and 61 kilometers in length, with a maximum width of 14 kilometers. We are an autonomous country in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. I will explain that a little bit more in depth in a little bit. More than 50 nationalities are living harmoniously together here in Curacao. The languages is Papiamento, Dutch, English, and Spanish. Most people can either speak them fluently or defend themselves in these languages. Papiamento is the native language of Curacao, which consists actually of a mix of languages, African, Arawak, Indian, Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, all of that mixed into each other. The currency that we have in Curacao is the Dutch Antillian guilder, and it has been pegged to the dollars over more than 40 years. So 1.7579 guilders is actually $1. With regards to religion, it's predominantly Roman Catholic, but it's actually a freedom. When you can see we have more than 50 nationalities together, you can see different kinds of backgrounds and religions living harmoniously together. So about the Kingdom of the Netherlands. In the year 2010, there was a referendum for all of the islands that used to be, most probably best known to you all as Netherlands Antilles, which better to be remembered is the ABC and the SSS. So it's Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, St. Martin, St. Eustatius, and Saba. During this referendum, the different islands then chose for their future and how they would see the relationship with regards to the Netherlands, and move then from country Netherlands Antilles to autonomous countries or be part of the Netherlands as a province overseas. So the islands Curacao and St. Martin then chose to be autonomous within the kingdom. Aruba had that choice since 1986, and Bonaire, Saba, and St. Eustatius chose to be part of the Netherlands as such. What does that mean? From that point on, Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin have their own government, one level of government. They have their own laws, own decision making. The only things that we are dependent, not on the Netherlands, but on the kingdom, is on defense and international relations. How to see this? There's Kingdom of the Netherlands. It's represented by partners. Partners are Curacao, St. Martin, Aruba as autonomous islands within the kingdom, and the Netherlands. And then Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Saba, which is now called as short BES, they are part of the Netherlands as provinces overseas. About the Curacao Chamber, our mission is to be the official representative of the general interest of trade and industry for the well-being of Curacao society, with a private initiative-based, internationally oriented, competitive economy. We have a board of 9 volunteers who are actually entrepreneurs in their different sectors. 4 of these entrepreneurs represent small businesses and 5 represent medium and large businesses. These entrepreneurs are elected by the entrepreneurship. Every year there's a rotation of 3 seats, and every year the president is again at the beginning of the year. When there's a new board in place, again the president is there to be able to be chosen again as a president, or have a different person volunteer as president. So you see, Mr. Billy Jonker has been the president for the last 12 years. It's because he's been re-elected every year again democratically by his peers. We do also the part of economic analysis, so we do also, this includes impact studies as well. We advise the government whether the government desires it or not, requested or not requested. We give them advice on social, economical, fiscal, business, and monetary issues. These issues include national dialogue, socio-economic council, consultations with special interest groups that influence the business climate. We work, of course, on project development. This includes, for example, Dutch Caribbean Securities Exchange, which was born, let's say, at the Chamber and now are on their own. We have developed as Chamber a white paper, which is called Bansembra Awe Pakosichamaya, which actually talks about the priorities of the Chamber, about people, productivity, economy, welfare, and connecting Curacao to the New World economy. Also, initiatives with regards to immigration policy, tax and duty-free shopping, and coordinating a private sector group with regards to COVID-19 effects on business. We have a registry department. We do the part of registration of companies, legal entities, foundations, and trusts. We advise the government, Ministry of Economic Development, on business license requests. There is the part of obtaining excerpts, authentic documents, and declarations of the different companies. And we do also the part of dissolution of legal entities and execute official name checks. When you see a small island like Curacao with more or less 150,000 population, maybe you wouldn't think that we'd have around 40,000 registered entities, of which 30,000 are locally active, and the other around 8,000 are offshore companies. Our Entrepreneurship Center, here we give information, education, coaching, and advice. We train also entrepreneurs, so it's called the dreamers, the startups, as well as the scale-ups. We're actually also, when you say about information, you will have the possibility as well as trade agent companies, where you have interest in having information about Curacao, that you can contact us freely. Being international is not a boundary. Right now with Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp calls, and all of that, there's the possibility of answering questions, taking out all of your doubts that you have about starting a business or investing in Curacao. You can you have contact with us as well on that. We promote international commerce, facilitating doing business with, on, or through Curacao, through information such as this, but also attracting investment to Curacao. This is something that we do in when we have international events that we attend. Then we reconnect with investors that we already have previous contacts with, and we sit with them, present to them about the possibilities in investing in Curacao. We do not do the part of active recruitment that you will hear later from our colleagues from CNEX, but we attended to it as well. We also follow organizations as well in our building, just Trade Point Curacao, which is our department itself. Europe Direct Curacao Information Session, which was mentioned at the beginning as well, which is actually falls directly under the European Commission to give information as an OCT about the possibilities as a citizen of Europe, actually, to have also the advantages to be part of that community. The Curacao Hospitality and Tourism Association, FNP, this logistical sector foundation of Curacao, and others as well. We facilitate in international promotion services, in collective participation in trade fairs abroad. This has different levels. It can be a level in which entrepreneurs themselves have identified a country in which they think it has potential, and they approach the chamber and indicate, we need to go to this country, we need to go to this trade fair, help us out. And then we facilitate in opening doors and windows in the countries where we have connections in order to make that a possibility with regards to the business mission. Then we have a business mission initiated by the chamber, in which we indicate these are the countries that we think are important, and these are the potential that is available with regards to business opportunities in these countries. And we organize then those collective participations of business missions to other countries. Other possibilities are government missions initiated by the government. We do the part of promoting of these missions when we see that it is fit as well to the plans of the chamber. And the other one is through kingdom missions. It's then when it is initiated from the Kingdom of the Netherlands. There is then a kingdom minister or a minister of the Netherlands participating or leading these trade shows. And then in some cases as well, that the king himself then also leads a mission. We promote these missions depending on the sectors towards our different entrepreneurs. At the other side, we have inbound missions, such as what we had also in November last year with Trinidad and Tobago. Then we intend to facilitate as much as we can in order for the mission to be successful in having the right matchmakings and the right informations for the entrepreneurs to take the right decisions in the market. We used to organize also trade fairs locally. We assist foreign investors, entrepreneurs, especially when they are linked to our sister organizations in their endeavors to enter the market or seeking for partners within the market. We assist local companies as well in their export efforts. We do this through either the kingdom embassies or through our sister organizations or other Chamber of Commerce's network, in order for them to have the right contacts to actually enter these markets as well and enjoy the opportunities abroad. Our entrepreneurship center, some of the data, this is a lot of data you will see over the last 10 years, but you will see that we give around 72 trainings and sessions and lectures in a year, around 3,000 participants in lectures and trainings and webinars. We have a couple of incoming missions and outgoing missions. We have meetings with potential investors as well, and around 5,000 physical visitors at the information desk. And amount of correspondence that is currently just going up since, you can see, since 2020 with the COVID lockdowns. It has remained stable and increased due to the facilities of technology and people also being less scared of using technology actually to reach us. So you have an idea the amount of contacts more or less that we have during the month. So it's an average 2,000 something per month, people coming into the chamber and requesting information, and which we facilitate. Shortly tipping onto tourism, markets that could be reached through Curaçao's Curaçao market itself as an island, but that shouldn't limit you to only Curaçao. Think about what I just showed about the Dutch Caribbean. So the ABC and the SSS, it's also reachable through Curaçao because some companies in Curaçao have subsidiaries already in these different islands. So it might make it much more than just 150,000 people. And think also about the Netherlands of more than 17 million people. That is also reachable through Curaçao because we speak the language, we know the culture, and we have the connections. Maybe you don't know, but Curaçao has, as an island in the Caribbean, the most direct connections with Amsterdam than all other islands, around more than 14 flights a week. Tourism industry, you have a population around 150, 160,000 people. Stay over, for you to remember easily, I put these figures, stay over around 500,000 and cruise tourism around 500,000. This means that the fluctuating population is also something to take into account with regards to the prospects of a market. And as tourism, we have a performance of over 103% over 2019 pre-COVID. You can scan this QR code so you can get to the statistics, which will show by country, by also stay, accommodation of stay, and all of that. This presentation will be provided after also, so don't be shocked if you're not able to grab your phone and scan the QR code. Online exposure. If you're searching for a partner or distributor or any kind of possibility you're looking for with regards to companies in Curacao, we have created a digital directory for businesses in Curacao. This means that you will be able to search through this directory, curaçaobusinesspoint.com, and see the profile of these companies. And after seeing the profile, you will review if you will contact them, yes or no. But it includes different kinds of sectors. So go to the Curacao Business Point and check it out, because it might help you in having an initial contact with the Curacao companies. Culture, like our Papiamento, the culture is mixed. So take into account that when you're doing business, that you have an influence of Caribbean influence, South American influence, European strictness and on-timeness, but also the local flavor of it. So an approach of that is also having an approach social, but direct. So don't be like, oh, tomorrow maybe I can take a decision about that, or just indicate I'm interested or I'm not interested, so both parties can move on. You can see this in music as well, and day to day you will see classical music to Burna Boy, local tambour, events such as Carnival, jazz, Latin. On the 9th of October, we had Oscar de Leon, so it's like salsa, and it was packed in downtown. So the mixture is so diverse. That mixture you will see back in the culture and also in doing business. There's ways that you can do business and start doing business with Curacao. There's business to business. You identify an importer here, and you do strictly from your business in Trinidad directly business with that importer as B2B. You can decide, yes, you already identified a company in Curacao that is successful that you would like to work with. You decide yes or no to go into a joint venture with that company, or through a subsidiary. If you have a company in Trinidad and Tobago, you can start a subsidiary in Curacao, have a local representative, a manager or representative in Curacao, and have then a local presence in the market. So that is also a possibility. How to do that? Please take contact with us, and we will be able to provide you with a document which indicates these are the documents specifically that you would need in order to start a subsidiary in Curacao. Or you decide to start it from scratch through a notary with a local representative. So there are options. It's always good to inform yourself, be aware of your own situation, and then inform yourself on the possibilities, and then evaluate, do your market research, and then take your decision. So in the part of doing business, due to this diversity, it may vary in language and way of doing business. In the first approach, if you send an email, for example, in English, that is perfect. On the part of being part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, that gives you some kind of insurance that whatever court case you have, you can defend it up to the High Court in The Hague. Doing business is not too formal, mostly business casual. No ties and jackets unless it's more financial sector. And I think more insights on how the importers and wholesalers have the way of doing business. Ms. Truman will be able also to give some information on that through the Importers Association. Communication with the chamber, we have a range of social media. So Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, as well as Twitter, but also the possibility of contacting us for small, short questions through WhatsApp as well. We have a local newspaper that we have without the chain published by the chamber, which is called Empresa Chiqui, small business. And it appears every 2 months with a new topic, and it has a distribution of more or less 10,000 copies at different kinds of distribution points. But also digitally, we develop it in order to share it also through the media, social media. So take this into account if you want to be in the market, that you can also promote through that, through these channels. And we have our newsletter, digital newsletter, which you can scan this QR code in order to have the latest copy and be aware of what you're doing, the activities that you're doing, how you could be involved as a Trinidadian entrepreneur or investor. Something I'd like to share with you, an upcoming event that is very important for Curacao, for the downtown in Curacao, that if you're an investor or you know an investor in real estate, but not any kind of real estate, special real estate, in, for example, monuments, weather benefits in downtown Willemstad, it's interesting for you to take into account and mark your agendas for December 3 to 5, 2023, here in Curacao. I will now start a short video so you can take a look at what to look forward to. Yes, so there was a video about Invest in Willemstad in Curacao. To contact us, you can again scan the QR code, or depending if you want to reach the registry department or information, these are our contact information. And I would like to thank you for your attention, and I pass the word back to Mr. Joel Julian.
Thank you very much, Mr. Damiani. A very, very insightful presentation. One of the things that stood out to me is I now know how to say small business, Impressa Chicky, so I really appreciate that, and thank you for the video and all the information that you would have provided us with in terms of doing business in Curacao. Can't get away from the iconic architecture, that represents Curacao. All right. So we would have, Mr. Damia would have carried us through the process of doing business in Curacao. Now, I'm sure some of you want to know about the economic landscape of Curacao, and who better than to help us navigate through that but an economist himself. And, as we know, economists play a very crucial role in understanding and shaping economic ideas and understanding the state of play. So at this point in time, I just want to invite to our virtual podium Mr. Dennis Dare, who's a senior economist at the Curacao Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Dare, a development economist with extensive experience in social economic and labor market policy, economic impact studies, for example, projects and minimum wage. That is a conversation that we were having here in Trinidad recently. And Mr. Dare, starting at the Department of Development Corporation, he soon joined the Chamber of Commerce and was instrumental in the setup of the Business Development Scheme, the Dutch Caribbean Securities Exchange, and the English Immersion School. He also worked in tax reform, industrial policy, and potential export markets for service industries. He's a past guest lecturer at the University of Curacao and a key lecturer at both Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences and Teachers Institute Economics. He's a coach and trains startup entrepreneurs and managers to develop their business and revenue model, discover their unique value proposition and customer groups. Mr. Day has a master's degree in macroeconomics at the University of Netherlands, and he's fluent in Dutch, English, Papiamento, and can also communicate in Spanish. Good morning, Mr. Day. It's a pleasure to have you joining us this morning. How are you? The floor is yours.
Fine. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, a real pleasure to be here with you all. So let me just start as well. I will share the screen. I trust you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, you're hearing you perfectly, Mr. Day.
Okay, so once again, it's a real pleasure to share some economic data with you all. So let's dive right away into it. So here we have, I'm showing you the, let me just move this. Yeah, so here we have the economic data. As you may know, Curacao has a total population, what you already heard, of around 150,000 citizens. So we have slightly more than a tenth of Trinidad and Tobago's 1.4 million. So our inflation is comparable also to Trinidad and Tobago's, fluctuating around 3%, except in 2022. So, and then we have Curaçao's GDP of 3.5 billion US dollars, and that's about 1/7 of Trinidad and Tobago's 24.5 billion of the GDP. So Curaçao GDP growth rate recently has been, amongst other things, due to an increase in both private and public investment in utilities, but also tourism and real estate and ship repair industry. So the output or the production growth, projects, new hotels and expansion of hotel rooms. We are really, we have a vast amount of increasing hotel rooms. So that's a good sign. Of course, we would, as Chamber of Commerce, we would prefer more high-end tourism resorts. So that's also something that we advise the government. Then we also have growth in transportation, storage and communication, as well as real estate. As you can see in the slide, our unemployment rate is about double that of Trinidad and Tobago at 11%. So it has been declining, luckily, but there has also been some unemployed going to the Netherlands or to other countries. So while Trinidad and Tobago has 73% of employed persons in the services sectors, in Curacao it is more than 84%, with about 66 to 70,000 employees, so which is 1/8 of Trinidad and Tobago's over 500,000 employed persons. So let's go to the next slide. So here we see some the GDP per capita in US dollars per head. It's about 23,000 US dollars per annum. Our services exports of which will reach 1.6 billion US dollars in 2024, which is about 2.5 times as large as our merchandise exports. So luckily for our services exports, we have a surplus on the services balance, but on our merchandise balance, we have a deficit. The merchant, on top of we have about merchandise imports that are quite huge and stand at almost $2 billion US dollars. As most of you are in the coalition of service industries, I have omitted the merchandise data, but we can always provide that if necessary. Further, our tourism industry is doing much better in recent years and still growing. As you can see, the data stayover tourists will surpass the 500,000 mark this year, while the number of cruise tourists has broken all records, as you can see. And even the number of visitor nights, which most likely will reach 5 million in 2024. Then we have our minimum wage data. So that's our minimum wage per hour is around $6 US. So that is about 1,070 US dollars on a monthly basis. As you can see, there are 32,000 local enterprises and legal entities registered at our registry at the chamber, and another 8,000 plus international legal entities. We have 12,000 domestically active sole proprietorships. So that's what we call eenmanszaken, so usually one person at the head. And then we have 5,600, approximately 5,600 limited liability companies and another 8,000 private companies. And then we have about 5,500 plus private companies operating internationally out of the 8,000. So the Curacao government, the outstanding debt, as you can see, the outstanding public debt reached about 70% of GDP. That has also declined, luckily. Then we have our next slide, in which you can see the gross value added for each industry ranked from highest to lowest according to CBS data. The major output is generated by the that's something that you might expect. So that's the financial and insurance sector with a 24% share, while real estate runs second with 11% of the total gross value added of the country. And then we have in fourth place tourism. So by the CBS, that's called the accommodation and food services. So that's about 8%. Of course, the share would be much higher if we would really dive into the tourism sector, considering all the linkages in the various sectors. So the Caribbean Tourism Organization years ago also did a study with the CBS, and that illustrated a much higher gross value added for the tourism sector. Then we have the slide illustrating our exports potential, but also our exports records. So 42% of the total foreign exchange generated by our industries is thanks to tourism. In the past, we had other strong economic sectors like the international financial and business services, the IFS, but also the refining fee. So that would be the oil refinery, but that for a couple of years already, that's at a 0% share. Also, we have bunkering that has increased enormously by the Curacao bunkering services, providing that to ships and others. And then we have the general merchandise with 23.5% of the total. And our other services, which are the professional, technical, and business services, are in fourth place, as you can see, with 9.4% share in the total. So we have seen in the past years a real shift. Tourism has exponentially grown in the past years. So luckily for that sector as well, that has actually balanced the economy. In the past, there were others, as I already mentioned. Then we have some business opportunities, which I would like to emphasize, and this is something that would be a really new sector to our economy. And I would like to see this developed is the continuous care retirement community, which entails 4 stages. So you would attract independent living pensioners or retirees. And then the second stage would be the assisted living, in which that person would require some help. So, for example, to do the laundry, to do the groceries, and maybe ask for some transportation and things like that. And then thirdly, we have the 24/7 nursing homes with specialized nurses taking care of the pensioners. And the final stage would be memory care. Of course, it's very important in that project that we have researched to really focus first on the independent persons and pensioners. So the intention is to attract high net worth pensioners, and the economic impact study that we did has a significant positive effect on our economy, as our research shows. So if any of you would want to be the new investor, project developer, or operator, feel free to contact us for more details and information, as this certainly is an attractive business opportunity. So why Curacao? As you can see, there are different or major aspects in our economy that are very attractive to tourists, but also to those that would like to live here and to spend their last days on Curacao. So you can easily keep in shape and be active in our sun, swimming at the beach, but also therapy with dolphins, with horses. We don't have as Trinidad, we don't have any winter as well. And of course, the vibrant social life and personal care services are all available in such a continuous care retirement community. And then you would be worry-free and live happily ever after. With our dancing, with our music, with the salsa and the other types of music that we can offer. So feel free to contact. Why, and I am sure our other featured speaker will go more in depth in our fiscal incentives. We have tax facilities in land development and other areas, so I won't stay long in this slide. And then we have the investor permit. So that's also something very attractive and interesting for anyone that would like to invest in our island, and also to get an indefinite investor permit, which can be obtained quite easily when investing a certain amount. Then we, as a Curacao Chamber, we have all the contact details of over 40 plus business associations and more than 30 professional entities, which we can gladly provide to you. The manager of that center was Stephen Damiana, or is Stephen Damiana, so you can easily contact him for more of that information. We believe that our services industries and its associations would appreciate joining forces, as our president, Mr. Billy Jonker, just also mentioned. We would be very much appreciative to join forces and collaborate with your service providers as TTCSI to create a synergy impact and hopefully also import to other countries. To name a few of those business associations, the Digital Hub of the Americas, and also CIMIA, which is a tech IT software provider association. And I'm showing you on the next slide their website. So this is for the digitalhubamericas.com. Excuse me. And then we have CIMIA as well, the Curacao Tech Export Association. And of course, we have much more of those business associations. So finally, I'm sharing our data, contact details. So feel free if you need some economic information or some other details, like I mentioned about the retirement community, you can always, we are only an email away. So that's dennis.dare@curacao-chamber.cw. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And maybe later on, we'll hear if you have some or any question.
I thank you very much, Mr. Day. Very informative.
Most welcome.
When you're going through the list of reasons to come to Curacao, you caught me by number one already. You didn't need to, really insightful stuff. And thank you very much for the presentation. Really enjoyed it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Day. Now, as I said, we getting a lot of information, a lot of insight into Curacao today. All right. So our next presenter is Ms. Rashida Petronilia. And Ms. Petronilia is the Marketing and Communication Manager at Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency. Now, Ms. Petronilia serves as the Marketing Manager, and she holds degrees, from both the University of Tilburg in the Netherlands and the University in Curacao. Ms. Petronilia has been an integral part of the Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency team since 2015, bringing her valuable expertise to the organization. Now, prior to her role at the Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency, she contributed her skills and knowledge in the Ministry of Economic Development in Curacao. Ms. Petronilia, good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. The floor is yours.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to be part of this event, Doing Business with Trinidad. For us, it's a pleasure to be here. My interim director, Ms. Jeanette Burnett, couldn't be here today, but she wishes everyone very well. And you will have also her contact information afterwards. Let me start by sharing my presentation. Just give me a second. Let me try it this way, see if it goes. Yes. Please let me know if you can see the...
Yes, I'm seeing the screen.
All right,
yes.
Good. To start, one thing you guys will notice is that we have some information that are very similar with our colleagues. And that's a good thing, actually, because we are united in the information we share with investors and the outside world. So some of the topics that are already been mentioned, I will skip through and continue with the next slides. And we'll hear afterwards if you have some questions. So the general information already was mentioned by our colleague of the chamber, so I'll skip through this one and go directly to why we are promoting Curacao as an investment destination and an export hub. Let's start with this. There are 5 key points that we think key areas that we think are valuable in making us one of a good investment destination and an export hub, starting with the location, as was mentioned before, strategically geographically located outside of the hurricane belt. We have well-developed natural harbor, including one of the largest natural harbors in the world. That's been key for us in the trading industry. Access, as was mentioned again before as well, we have daily, weekly flights from Canada, Europe, United States, South, Central America, and the Caribbean, and more are being added as well. Our talent pool, skilled and multilingual, as mentioned before, you have the majority of the community that can speak both Dutch, English, Papiamento as well, Spanish. So that's a very high skill to have, and that we're proud also of. And this talent pool is, because of this as well, scalable throughout the region and EU as well. 4 is our infrastructure. We have a internet penetration of 86.7%. One of the, if not the only one, 3-4 data center in the Pan-Caribbean region. We are connected, very well connected as well, to the subsea cables, as you can see on the screen. And also our stability, the high Dutch legal system that we have. And this is very important because I think it was Stephen that mentioned it, but to say this again, the Curacao, as part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the investment protection treaties that are concluded on the kingdom level, in general, apply to Curacao as well. This means that if Curacao is used as a home base to invest in other countries, these treaties may help mitigate risks that are involved with such investments. So that's also a key for us, and the political stability that we have on the island. Next. We have our colleagues as well of tax incentives, so I'm sure she will go more in depth, but just to mention the investment incentives that we have on the island that are attractive for investors. We have a corporate tax preferential regime. We usually have the 22%, which you can say is kind of favorable already, but however, following domestic activities are taxed at a reduced rate of 3%. So you have the call, service, or data centers that provide support to enterprises. We have the warehousing companies that can make use of this incentive, aircraft and shipbuilding, services provided in Curacao, the unrelated investment funds, and the manager. We do have the e-zone regime, where I go more in depth in the later slides. But if you have 75% or more of the turnover obtained from export, you can establish yourself in one of our free zones that we have. Then you can have no custom duties on import and transshipment and our export of goods. Foreign exchange transactions relating to free zone goods are exempt from commission. This regime is, again, as I said, applied by establishing in one of the free zone areas. We have the tax holiday available for more businesses with an investment of at least $2.8 million. You get exemption from import duties, exemption for real estate tax, exemption from income tax on dividends, and adjust corporate tax rate as well. We have, as Mr. Dare mentioned just now, the residency by investment actually incentive as well. So, which means that high net worth foreign individuals that are eligible for multi-year residency permits with an investment of at least $281,000, and it's scalable to an indefinite period on the island with an investment of at least $838,000. Furthermore, we have the zero profit tax on assets. This is especially on intangible assets. This is especially very attractive for people that are in the tech software development industry. We have the expatriate exemptions on income tax. We have treaties to prevent double taxation on and information exchange agreements. We have preferential access to USA, as you may know, through the CBI, and we have a similar arrangement with the EU through the OCT arrangement, meaning that products that are developed on the island or has gone enough transformation on the island that it become a product of Curacao can make use of this arrangement as well to enter the EU market. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the sectors that are important for the coming 5 years, and I'm going to explain why. In 2018, the government started this initiative, this project initiative to create a national export strategy for Curacao, right? To increase our exports in different sectors. The NES, how we call it, reflects the country's ambition to transform its economy into one that is driven by entrepreneurship, efficiency, cost effectiveness, quality, and innovation. The strategy focuses on transforming the economic makeup of the country by upgrading and creating new value chains, particularly in services exports. So together with stakeholders in various consultations, we came up with the following sectors, as you see on the screen, that will be the focus sectors for export in the coming 5 years at least. So the financial services, IT services, education services, blue bioeconomy, the port and maritime services, creative industry, which is really booming on the island, medical and wellness, and the renewable energy. So though these are focused on exports, however, they can be, in our case, no exports without of developing these sectors for export without first investing in them. So for CNEX, for the Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency, we are going to look actively for investment in these sectors as well for the coming years to help these develop more as export sectors as well, once companies establish on the island. The blue bioeconomy, I have to say, has been very on the radar for the last year. There's a really big project coming to Curacao by Fabian Cousteau, a underwater research park that's going to be developed. There's another big blue bioeconomy project coming very soon as well after that one. So we are already starting to see some movements in these sectors. So for exports, Curinde, which is the operator and developer of the 2 free economic zone and 1 industrial park, has been key for us. As mentioned before, companies can establish in the free zone and make use of Curacao as a hub to exports to other countries as well. So Curacao does have the harbor free economic zone, the airport free economic zone, industrial park Bivakat, and we will soon have another one developed in this area as well. So here you can see some of the statistics of the economic zones, and also the incentives that are available once you establish in one of the zones. The zero import duties, the zero turnover tax, the zero on land property tax, etc. So currently, the activities that are allowed in the economic zone are import and export, as mentioned, assembly, distribution, production, warehousing, and service, meaning maintenance and repair center. However, as I mentioned before, they're going to be developed another industrial zone in the free zone area in New Haven. And once this one is developed, more activities are allowed in terms of services. So the creative services and IT services will be able to establish in this area as well and make use of the incentives that are available for free zone companies. And the good part of this is they do not need that 75% turnover from export to establish in that one particular industrial zone that's going to be developed. Part of our infrastructure for export, of course, is the Curacao Ports Authority. As I said, we have one of the largest natural harvests in the world, actually, and it's been very instrumental for us in our trades. The 5 seaports of Curacao offer a wide range of berthing options, facilities, and maritime services that cover commercial, recreational, and industrial segments. In the port of Willemstad, you can berth the largest cruise vessels. It houses the Caribbean largest crude oil refinery, which right now is not in operation, but the government is looking for an operator at the moment. Offer extensive capacity for ship repair. We do have the dry dock as well in this area. It houses the container terminal and provide efficient export bunkering services as well. The Sea Center is a project that we are also proud to endorse as Curacao Investment and Export Promotion Agency. It's a project that is from the Curacao Airport Holding that manages the Curacao Airport of Curacao. This is a multi-purpose technology-driven center that they want to develop in that same area as well. That will include a hotel, an auditorium, commercial and recreational area, a plaza. So it's going to be a big area of recreation, and especially technology driven. That is what they want for this multi-purpose center. We do have a video that showcase a little bit, a rendering of what they are looking for. So if you're interested, you can let the group know, or the organizers, and I can share this video with you later on as well. We do have also the Curacao Medical Center. The Curacao Medical is a modern and state-of-the-art hospital located here in Curacao. It is equipped with the latest technology and medical equipment, making it one of the most advanced healthcare facility in the region. Recently, the Curacao Medical Center has taken a bold step by initiating medical tourism with neighboring islands, Aruba and Bonaire. This initiative is aimed at attracting patients from these islands who are seeking advanced medical care. CMC, so as we call it, has plans to expand these services in the future to other neighboring islands as well. And as mentioned before, the medical and wellness sector is one that the government is currently really focused on. And actually, we are together with the International Trade Center, a division in UNCTAD, we just finished the strategy, the export strategy for the medical and wellness sector. And this is going to be published soon as well. Curacao for business process and outsourcing. Due to all the advantages that I mentioned before, the languages that we speak and the infrastructure, etc., Curacao has been for quite a while already on the radar of business process outsourcing companies, that wants to benefit this based on the factors discussed in previous slides. It mentions such as our connectivity, multilingual and skilled workforce, the technology infrastructure that we have, and the stable government. They find Curacao to be an ideal location for the businesses, recently with one of the biggest one establishing on the island, Concentrics, and already servicing big name companies. The creative sector is one that also the government is focusing more and more on developing on the island. The government aims to establish Curacao as a hub specifically for film production in the Caribbean. So we do already have a film commissioner and a Curacao Film Office working really hard in making this one of our key pillars as well. in the economy. And the plans also include for this sector to develop a film studio on the island, offering incentives, specific incentives for foreign filmmakers and promoting film and education training. So one thing that we are very proud of on the island is how far along we are with our renewable energy production. For now, as of today, I can say Curacao gets approximately 35 to 40% of its production from renewable energy, and that comes from our wind farm that we have and solar energy production. We are very ambitious in that area, and are looking to 70% by 2027 by the this is statement coming from the management from the utility company. So since 2018, Curacao has an energy policy for building sustainable future, focused on 9 strategies among others. And I think these areas can be very important if you want to invest as well in this area of renewable sustainability. On the island is introduction of natural gas for energy purposes, invest in waste to energy, energy efficient transportation and buildings, which I think is very attractive to invest in. As mentioned also by my colleagues that presented before me, the tourism sector is again, let's see, booming on the island with numbers that are even some of the number exceeding the previous COVID numbers that we had. So we're very happy with that. Also including all of the flights that are being added continuously. I think this area is only going to continue to grow for us. Tourism has always been a low-hanging fruit, and now we're more actively promoting it. We are seeing the fruits of that. So it is an area that I think it's very attractive to invest in right now. Either it's for just you want to come to Curacao and live and have an additional property, or for renting, etc. Yes, to continue, as I mentioned before, we have the Tier 4 data center on the island that's called BlueNap America, which is the most advanced multi-tenant Tier 4 certified data center in the Pan-Caribbean region. It's Tier 4 certified design and constructed facility. We have world-class management and operation, 100% uptime of all critical resources as well, and superior risk mitigation from natural and man-made disasters. At Home in Curacao is a program that was developed by the Ministry of Economic Development during COVID, actually, to provide a way, an opportunity for people that want to live on the island for a more extended period to do so. So Curacao launched At Home in Curacao to accommodate travelers looking for a temporary home away from home, whether you're looking for a place to work remotely. So remote workers also fall under this program to spend cold winters. It doesn't apply for Trinidad, but anyway, so you get also welcome. You're still welcome to make use of this incentives, or as an investment opportunity. Curacao welcomes you with open arms. Remote workers, hibernators can now receive special access to work and live in Curacao for an extended period. And also, as mentioned, the residency by investment program that was mentioned before also falls under this At Home in Curacao project. And you can visit this link, www.athomeincuracao.com, to know more about this program. And if you want to visit us, just to work remotely for a while, you can make use of this program as well. So this is, in a nutshell, you will have this presentation shared with you, what we offer as Curacao. This is Curacao Facts in a snapshot. You can go through it and see what else we have to offer for all the Trinidad companies. So what we do, as I mentioned before, no, I didn't mention this, but we were founded in 2014 by the Ministry of Economic Development with a mandate to attract and promote Curacao as an investment destination and attract investment to the country, and also facilitate export as well. So what we do as an organization, we brand and promote Curacao as a foreign direct investment destination. We seek international investors for local projects. We facilitate the process of investment as well, providing information, assisting in obtaining permits, licenses, etc. We facilitate the contact with authorities. We do investment matchmaking as well. If you want to come invest in Curacao and are looking for a partner as well, we can assist with that. And as mentioned, provide relevant business information. We have our office in Curacao. We do have representative in the Dominican Republic as well. So if there is a market that you want to enter, we can assist as well. We do have representative in the Netherlands. In Colombia, we have at Holland House, Colombia, in Bogota, and also in Rio Hacha as well. So we're here to help you if you want to use Curacao as a hub to invest elsewhere. Please, you're welcome, and we're here to facilitate the process for you throughout. Okay, thank you very much for attending this presentation. These are our contact information, and can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Petronella. Very insightful, very interesting presentation. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, so keeping up pace with some of the information that we have coming to us now, I'd like to invite to our virtual podium Ms. Francine da Costa Gomez. And Mr. Costa Gomez is a tax manager and attorney at law at HBN Law and Tax. It's a law firm based at the Curacao office and provides advice related to jurisdictions such as Aruba, BS Islands, Curacao, and St. Martin. She has a special focus on tax and corporate law matters. I just want to open the floor to you now and invite you to address us, Mr. Costa Gomez. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Julian. Let me just get my presentation going. Thank you in any case for having me today, and I hope I can share some information regarding the Curacao tax highlights. Let me just see. Let's start from the beginning. Is the presentation visible for you?
Yes, I'm seeing it.
Fully visible, or in the PowerPoint template? Just checking.
It's still in the PowerPoint template.
Yeah, right? Okay, let's see if this will help. Maybe this or this. Better? I think so, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm going to give some highlights on Curacao tax law. I have a short program for you all today. It's a small introduction. Afterwards, I'll give some insights on the personal income tax. After that, wage tax and social premium contributions, profit tax, turnover tax, and also other incentives. I have to say, of course, the tax system here in Curacao is pretty complex. So I'm going to do my very best to just provide you with some highlights and hopefully give you a clear view on how the Curacao tax system works here in Curacao. A small introduction of who am I and the firm I work with. I'm Francine da Costa Gomez. I'm a tax manager and attorney at law. I'm based in the Curacao office, but also provide advice through for the whole Dutch Caribbean, as they call it. So in Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, Saint Eustatius, Saba. We also provide advice in Suriname. So a wide range of tax advice that I provide in any case. And also I'm a attorney at law. So in Dutch, that is an advocaat. So also with civil law or in corporate law procedures, I can also assist in such matters. HBN Law and Tax, where the largest legal and tax firm here in the Dutch Caribbean with tax advisors and also attorneys at law. In the Dutch Caribbean, in the Netherlands, and also Suriname. Our tax department specifically was previously Meiberg & Co Caribbean, KPMG, part of the KPMG network up until 2008. And in 2019, the tax department of Meiberg & Co Caribbean merged with HBN Law, a very old or established law firm here in Curacao, and therefore we became HBN Law and Tax. We have offices in Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, St. Martin, Dutch side, Suriname, and the Netherlands. So a wide array of contact points. And yeah, let's continue on with an introduction of the Curacao taxes that may be applicable if you invest in Curacao. I will start with the personal income tax, the wage tax, profit tax, turnover tax. I do have to mention that perhaps also the property tax could be relevant in case of investing or buying real estate here in Curacao. But however, due to the time limit of the presentation, I'm not able to really go in depth regarding that. However, please note that there is a property tax. Also, there are other taxes that could be applicable. However, my main focus of the presentation will be on these main taxes. Let's start with the personal income tax. Who is the taxpayer in the case of personal income tax? That's individuals, people such as you and I. There is a distinction in the law between a domestic taxpayer and a foreign taxpayer. So it depends whether the taxpayer is established, located here in Curacao, or can be considered as a foreign taxpayer. If you can be considered as a domestic taxpayer or an individual established here in Curacao, that would be based on facts and circumstances to determine whether you are subject to the personal income tax here, both for domestic purposes and also for foreign tax purposes. The taxable income that is taxed in the personal income tax is income derived from real estate, assets, enterprise and labor, and rights on periodic distributions. And also it should be taken into account that if there's an individual that has that conducts a business as an entrepreneur, so not with a legal entity, it is also subject to the personal income tax here in Curacao. And the profit of that enterprise then is based on a Dutch word that is called goedkoopmansgebruik, and that entails in English it is various regulations based on how a good merchant would act. But of course, there are guidelines on how to determine such profit and how to determine the taxable profit in that case. Furthermore, in the personal income tax regime, there are special regimes or regimes that should be taken into account. One of them is the pensionado regulation. Of course, the previous speakers already mentioned about people that retire here in Curacao. The pensionado regulation is an incentive for people retiring here, or you have to meet certain requirements to meet to apply the pensionado regulation. But in any case, the benefit of the pensionado regulation is that the foreign source income is taxed at 10% or the regular rate on a fixed amount of 500,000 guilders. So that is an interesting regulation that perhaps you could meet the conditions thereof, and you should be living here in Curacao. Another interesting item is, item to take note of, is a substantial interest. If you have a substantial interest in a company and you receive income from that substantial interest, such as in if you're a shareholder of a subsidiary with a substantial interest in that subsidiary, the income would be taxed at 19.5%. Furthermore, as mentioned in the beginning, there is a distinction between the domestic and foreign taxpayers for personal income tax purposes. Domestic taxpayers pay personal income tax on their world income, as they say in Dutch. However, foreign taxpayers could be subject to personal income tax if specific sources are identified and received from Curacao. One of them that is specifically relevant for investors here in Curacao is in case of income that is derived from real estate could be subject to personal income tax here. Okay. Then we continue on with the wage tax and social premium contributions. Wage tax is a preliminary tax on the personal income tax. It is a tax that is paid and remitted by the employer on behalf of the employee. So this is important if you're interested in conducting business here in Curacao and also having employees in having employees, wage tax and social premium contributions should be taken into account. And what is considered as wage? Well, anything obtained from an employment or a past employment, including earnings in kind, such as the use of a private company card or other earnings in kind. So that should also be taken into account. And the current wage tax rate is a progressive tax rate, and it starts at 9.75% and goes up to 46.5%. Apologies, I didn't mention that just now regarding the personal income tax rates, but that is also a progressive tax rate. Another item which is could be interesting is the expatriate regime. This is a regime which is for it, the word already says it, expatriates that would be working here in Curacao. There are various conditions that should be met. However, it could be beneficial for the employer and employee actually, that considering the wage tax is determined by the net salary and not by the gross salary of the employee, and certain remunerations and allowances can be exempt from wage tax and personal income tax. So it is really a regime to incentivize people coming here and working here from abroad in Curacao and giving them tax benefits in that regard. All right, then we'll continue on with profit tax. Curacao has a profit tax system. Profit tax applies to legal entities. In Dutch, that is called rechtspersonen. Examples are, I indicated on the slide, it's an NV or a BV that are abbreviations from Dutch words. That is the naamloze vennootschap and the besloten vennootschap. But basically, that's a limited private a liability company or a public liability company. There are also other legal entities that are summed up in the profit tax legislation. But however, this gives you a little bit of an idea who is subject to the profit tax. Who is the profit taxpayer? Well, in this case, also you have a distinction between domestic and foreign, let's call it like that. A legal entity incorporated under the laws of Curacao is subject to profit tax, and also a foreign legal entity with a permanent establishment in Curacao. And there are a few legal requirements which determine if foreign legal entity has a permanent establishment here in Curacao. Basically, that means a presence in Curacao, to keep it very, very simple. Of course, there's a whole legal matrix and format on how to determine if there is a permanent establishment here in Curacao, but that would go too far for this presentation today. Then, what is a profit tax system? As of January 1st, 2020, there's a territorial tax system. And it's a very different system in comparison to other systems within the region. It is also fairly new for us. So yeah, it does bring sometimes challenges in that sense because it's a very new system, how it works out. However, the main rule of the territorial tax system is that the Curacao domestic tax residents are only taxed on domestic income, and that is income from Curacao sources, and that is the so-called territorial tax basis. You should take note that passive income, such as income resulting from an active, not resulting from an active business activity, such as interest, royalty, rent, and dividend income, is deemed to be domestic income under the territorial tax system. So in any case, that would be domestic income. There's no discussion about that. Well, considering we were just focused about the domestic income being taxed, it's important to know how to determine what the foreign income is for Curacao profit tax purposes, which is not included in the tax base. And the foreign income tax, the foreign income can be proven based on a ratio of the domestic and foreign direct costs that have a causal relation to the generated turnover of the company. So the system works like this. In principle, all income is domestic income unless the taxpayer can prove that a part of that income is foreign income. And to do so, you have to use this ratio that I just mentioned between the domestic and foreign direct costs that have a causal relation to the generating of the turnover of this company to determine what the foreign income would be that is not included in the domestic income, which is taxed for Curacao tax purposes. Once this is applied, substance requirements are applicable. And these substance requirements are also in the tax legislation, and they entail that depending on the nature and size of the company, there should be an appropriate amount of full-time qualified local employees, whether or not on the payroll, who conduct their employment in Curacao, and an appropriate amount of local recurring annual costs. So a whole a big mouthful, let's say it like that. But in any case, these are items that should be taken into account. So basically the tax base will be the domestic profit, so the domestic income, minus the deductible losses, minus deductible donations. In the profit tax, you have some possibilities. I summed them up here. I will not go into too much specific regarding them, but it's of course important to know that they exist. There's an investment deduction in case of investments. There's the innovation box regime, that is what Ms. Petronila also indicated already regarding to a beneficial system, a beneficial tax rate in case of IP, intellectual property. But please note that conditions apply for this profit tax rate to be applicable. Also, it is possible to create a fiscal unity between two subsidiary or two legal entities here in Curacao. Also, conditions apply, and the participation exemption is applicable in case, there's in case there is a qualifying participation, and the legislation also gives you guidelines when you would qualify as a qualified participation to have the participation exemption. Then we have some special vehicles, as they call them. You have, first of all, the Curacao Investment Company. This is a company that is domiciled in Curacao with a capital divided in shares, which could be continually and which should continuously meet certain requirements. I do emphasize on that item because it should be checked every year. It should be meeting the requirements to have this beneficial regime. So it's important that not only when establishing the CIC, it meets the requirements, but it's continuous. It continuously does so. Apologies. The CIC is subject to profit tax. However, the profit tax rate is 0%. Once you apply for the CIC, it's with a written request. It is important to mention that one of the requirements is that the substance requirements that I mentioned previously also apply for Curacao Investment Company. Then we have a few other items. The special purpose asset, in Dutch is called doelvermogen. That is in case of certain, in certain cases, it's possible to submit a written request for the an effective tax rate of 10%. Also already mentioned by Ms. Petronilia is that we have designated industries for which a tax rate of 3% could apply. The whole aim of including these designated industries is to stimulate certain industries here in Curacao, such as call centers, data centers, storage companies, and asset managers. Please note that specific conditions apply, and also the substance requirements, as mentioned prior, are also applicable. Then we also have the cost plus regulation. That is something that is applicable for conduit companies, and the profit tax base is then calculated based on a cost plus remuneration. So also in that case, it should be assessed whether could meet these requirements for the cost plus applicability for this beneficial tax rate to apply. Or I have to say not tax rate, but profit tax calculation to apply. Well, in a nutshell, I just mentioned various possibilities in the Curacao tax system. So here is a small overview of what rates could apply. Well, first of all, as of January 1st, 2023, there's a profit tax rate of 15%, which will be applicable on the taxable profit up to and including to the amount of 500,000 guilders, and a profit tax rate of 22% is applicable on the taxable profit of the amount that exceeds that 500,000. The 10% I just mentioned is for the special purpose assets. So doelvermogen, as mentioned, requirements apply. The 0% tax rate is applicable for the Curacao Investment Company or the innovation box regime. Again, requirements apply. And the 3% is a profit tax rate that is for designated industries, which are summed up in the profit tax legislation. Okay. Then also something which could be applicable is turnover tax. This is an indirect tax, which is which is levied on the import of goods, the supply of goods, and the rendering of services within the territory of Curacao by entrepreneurs within the framework of their business profession. Yeah, it's important to check whether, depending on what interest you have and what type of business you would like to conduct here in Curacao, just take into account also the import of goods could be subject to turnover tax. And in that case, it's also very important to note that you are subject to the turnover tax if you are an entrepreneur for turnover tax purposes. And that's something that you could comply with fairly fast when doing business here in Curacao, and if you're in one of those categories. The rates in general there's a general rate of 6%, a 7% rate in case of insurances and short-term accommodation, and 9% in specific cases which are summed up in the legislation. Do have to mention, please note that all the tax rates that are mentioned in this presentation are tax rates that are currently applicable. Please note that everything can change, specifically in tax legislation. So it's important to know if you will be conducting business or investing in due course or next year, or to double check if the rates are still the same. Okay, then the last item that I have is the other incentives. It was also already mentioned by Ms. Pitronilia that we have a tax holiday possibility that is for companies that are engaged in land development, hotel exploitation, industry, and specific designated sectors. The investment, expansion, and improvement of the renovation should require an X amount of minimum of investment, which must be spent within the first 2 years. It truly depends in which category you are and what the amount would be. And also there should be an X amount of local employees, and additional requirements apply. However, it is very beneficial if you meet those requirements, a request should be submitted, and then if it's granted, you would have lower tax rates and also exemptions on various taxes. Then we have the private foundation. In Dutch, it's called the Stichting Particulier Fonds, or the SPF. A private foundation is a legal entity. It's a special foundation, you can call it, a private foundation. It is usually used as an investment vehicle or for estate planning purposes. And it's important to know that a private foundation may not conduct a business. So it's truly for passive income purposes. And unlike the restriction of other foundations here in Curacao, so a stichting, as they call it in Dutch, a private foundation does not have restrictions with respect to distributions to its beneficiaries. And the most important part in this case is that the profit of a private foundation is exempt from profit tax. So if conditions are met, it is important to state that the private foundation is required to file a profit tax return. So you do file a profit tax return. However, the profit tax, if you meet the requirements of the private foundation and you do not conduct a business, are exempt from profit tax. Then last but not least, the transparent company. It's possible in Curacao that a regular legal entity, such as an NV, BV, or even a private foundation. Again, the NV and BV are the public and private limited liability companies, can elect to be treated as a sort of partnership, a transparent company, if the requirements therefore are met. This is also a written request to the tax authorities. And what happens if the company is granted this as a transparent company? It's that an income and the cost are attributed to the partners of this legal entity and not the legal entity itself. And therefore, the legal entity itself is not taxed in Curacao. However, the partners are wherever they are situated. I think that's it in a nutshell. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope it gave you a little bit more of an overview of the Curacao tax system and taxes that could be applicable. And if there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much, Mr. Costa Gomez. Very
You're welcome.
insightful. I think you really walked us through the whole process in terms of the taxation in Curacao, and I'm appreciative of that.
Thank you.
All right. So now, thank you. Yep. So now for our next presenter, and we're going to Miss Miria Troman. Ms. Troman is with the Association of Curacao Agencies. Now, the Association of Curacao Agencies was established in 1995 to represent the general interests of all importers and wholesalers of Curacao. not only to advocate for the members of the association, but also for the general public to maintain sustainable supply and demand. Now, the association aims to be a channel for all wholesalers to import and provide goods to the Curacao market from the world to Curacao. Mr. Robin Martina functions as the president of the association, and Ms. Truman, today's presenter, is the contact person for all the questions regarding the organization and information needed. Ms. Truman, thank you for joining us this morning. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Julian. Good morning to all. Thank you for the invitation. I am looking to do you see the presentation?
Yes, we are seeing the presentation.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
As you know, let me see, it's not, something is not running. No. It is not running the slides.
See, I'm just seeing, I see it move just now, so I don't know if it is working now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm seeing the slide saying doing business with importers in Curacao.
Yeah, but it has to continue. It's only slides.
Let me see if we can, on our end, try to share the
Yes.
presentation.
So I am viewing.
I'm seeing a suggestion to click on the slide to see if it will activate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it went back to the original screen.
So we have to
Mr.
continue to
Joel,
the next.
I'm sorry, can I intervene a moment?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Mireya, I am sharing the slides, so you just have to tell me when to click and continue.
Okay.
So, right? Yes?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Once again, thank you very much, Julian, and for the invitation, and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce to include us in this nice and very informative webinar, sorry. Continue, please. As you know, Curacao is we have to import everything that we consume on this island because our local production is not sufficient to provide for our locals. Therefore, the import sector is a very important sector in the business of Curacao and Trinidad as well. I have been working for more than 20 years with Trinidad. Continue, please. BVC, the abbreviation stands for Belangenvereniging Curaçao's Avonturen, which means in English, Association for Curaçao's Agents. We represent major import and distributor for all categories of popular goods. We don't represent the pharmaceuticals sector. We have food, beverage, personal care, home care, hygiene, and car care. Continue, please. The best preparation for someone, for a business person who want to export to Curacao, is to conduct a good market research. Why I am saying this? Because on the island, you will see a wide variety of all sorts of products. The assortment is very, very wide, and price competition is very strong. And we have a price-sensitive market where it is good to look good to the prices and to apply a correct strategy. Otherwise, it will be it will take more time to be successful, particularly when you want to introduce a new product. Second point to to have to consider, Mrs. Dagosta Gomez was talking about the taxes and the structure of our fiscal structure of the accumulative sales tax. It is very important. I think later she can explain more about that, because when we have 3 times on the same product, at least we are paying tax and making the product then very, very expensive when it reaches the shelves. I mentioned already the market is price sensitive, strong competition, and wide assortment. A well-prepared shipping document is very important when exporting to Curacao, because if your shipping documents are not correct, it will take time to correct it, and you will have delay in the port. And of course, a marketing support from the manufacturer to the importers, so they can have more support to introduce the product into the market. Continue, please. Continue, please. Yeah. What we absolutely have to avoid is overstocking of market. We can be very excited and want to sell a lot. We understand that, but the fact is that Curacao is a small market, and as I mentioned before, with a wide assortment, and when you overstock the market and the product doesn't have a long life, it will become a problem and loss for the manufacturer and the importer. And we would like to avoid that, because that is not what we want to see in the business. One distributor to the market, that is due to the market size. The market is small. You have maybe 2-3 brands, but you cannot, we will not recommend to have 2-3 distributors for each brand, or for one brand to distributor, because the market is very small. It's not like Jamaica or Santo Domingo, where the market is much bigger. And once we have an agreement with a distributor, it will be good to keep to it, because when you have an agreement and for one reason or other you will go and make another deal with another distributor, that is what we call pallet import. And who will be responsible for the product if something happens, then we will have problems. So we have to be careful with that parallel import issue. Continue, please. Why do we with Curacao? Our importers are reliable people, very serious. We have a big capacity of warehouse. If not on premises, we have also facilities in the Corinda, and we have the market knowledge. So most of the time when a manufacturer visits Curacao of importers, we let them know, let them have as much possible information of how things work in Curacao regarding the food and beverage. That is in a nutshell. I am very short, as usual. And I hope if you have questions, we are at your service.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Schumann. Short but sweet.
You're
I
welcome.
think that yeah, I think that you would have covered some of the areas that we needed covered. I think all the presentations, honestly, this morning, kind of help tell the story of Curacao and give us a greater perspective of doing business in Curacao. And I thank you for participating in that also. All right. So we have had a day full of information. I just want to take a couple questions before we look to wrap up today's session, because I'm sure there's a lot to digest. There's a lot of information that we're given in terms of taxation, in terms of the economic climate, in terms of doing business, investment, imports. So I think there's a lot for us to really unpack and take in. All right. So one of the questions that I had, and I don't know who would want to answer it, or if anyone would want to touch it, but I know one of the things that was a focus for this year is Curacao joining CARICOM, and I just wanted to know, with that on the horizon, how do so I guess I'll pose this question to Mr. Yonke. How do you think that could possibly help going forward in terms of Curacao and the products that can offer, and what that partnership within CARICOM itself? How do you think that being joined in CARICOM could assist? All right, I'm not seeing Mr. Jonke in. I don't know if any of our other presenters would like to try and tackle that question in terms of Curacao looking at the possibility of joining CARICOM, and how do you anticipate that will possibly help in terms of the country?
Well, what I can indicate is that the joining of CARICOM is a government proposition, and that the intention is to actually be more connected towards the Caribbean community and have accessibility to products, because in the part of advantages for Curacao, it will be more for the population and getting potential
Right.
products inside of the market that would be more fresh, more payable, etc. But on the side of Curacao, because we have fewer products that we actually export, the benefits are not that much. So the intention is actually more to have potential products towards the Curacao market, at least from the government's perspective.
Okay, appreciate it, Mr. W. All right, and there's a question in the Q&A section that I'm going to read and see if any one of our panelists would like to tackle it. So this question is from Rachel McSween, and she's asking, with one supply distributor for a market, how do you avoid a situation where a monopoly can cause price gouging or quality degradation? Mr. Damania, I don't know if you wanna jump in here also.
I think that is something that Ms. Truman mentioned in her presentation with regards to parallel import and such. So maybe she wants to comment on
Sorry?
that.
Yeah.
The
Can you
question,
repeat the
Sure, man.
question?
yes, the
Yeah,
question that
sure.
was
Mhm. You could go ahead, Mr. Damania. That's no problem.
yes, the question was with one supplier or distributor for a market, how do you avoid a situation where a monopoly may cause price gouging or quality degradation?
That should be an agreement between the importer and the supplier.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Again,
Shomai.
there's just so you know, there's the part of price gouging and quality degradation. That is something that the Ministry of Economic Affairs does have their teams of quality control and price control. So if it suddenly happens, then there's some consequences to that as well. So it wouldn't happen based on a contract done by the parties, as Ms. Truman indicated.
Okay.
All right. Appreciated. All right, folks. As I said, good things must come to an end, and I think that we were really given a lot of information to digest, and I'm interested. I'm interested. I think that you all have really come together and really give us the whole lay of the land for Curacao in terms of doing business and the possibilities of doing business in Curacao. So I just want to take this moment, before I go to our vote of thanks. There was a question that was asked in the Q&A that Mr. Damania would have responded to. So I'm just going to repeat the response.
Maybe I can link into that. Okay, you're back.
Sorry about that, folks. I pressed a button that I should not have pressed. I touched a knob that I should not have touched. So it was a question that Mr. Damia would have responded to. Right. Let me see if I could press this thing now without it causing any issues. All right. So it's not. Unfortunately, I'm not able to get it.
Do
All
you
right.
wish for me
So
to
at
assist?
this juncture, I say unfortunately or fortunately, sometimes when you have a lot of good things happening, we have to end up eventually looking to wrap up. So we're coming to the point in the time where we look to wrap up today's session, doing business with Curacao. I'm sure that all the persons that would have been a part, would have been here, would have appreciated the session. So now I just want to turn over to our vote of thanks. And for that, we turn to one of our TTCSI directors, our hardworking directors from the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Services Industries, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Not a director, but
Mark, I'm seeing your lips moving, but I'm not hearing. I don't know if it's just on my end.
can everyone else hear me?
Yes.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
Yes, as I was saying, good afternoon, everyone. Not a director of the TTCSI, just one of the staff members. So, ladies, gentlemen, members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished speakers and participants and esteemed guests, as we bring the Doing Business with Curacao webinar to a close, I'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to the outstanding speakers who have graced us with their insights and expertise today. Their collective knowledge has made this event a remarkable success. A special thanks to the President of the Curacao Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. William Jonker, for today's introduction. Thank you to our esteemed speakers, Mr. Dennis Deere, Mr. Stephen Damiana, Ms. Rashida Petrolina, Ms. Francine da Costa Gomez, Ms. Maria Truman for the presentations. Their insight into the business landscape of Curacao has been invaluable, and their dedication to fostering international collaboration is deeply appreciated. I would also like to say thank you to the President of the TTCSI, Mr. Mark Edgell, for his contribution to today's webinar, our CEO, Ms. Vashti Gayadeen, for continued efforts contributing to the success of the Doing Business with the World Series, and our moderator, Mr. Joel Julian. Last and certainly not least, thank you to all those who attended today's webinar and engaged in discussions on the Doing Business with Curacao. Please stay tuned for our upcoming Doing Business webinars. Our next webinar will be on November 1st with the Dominican Republic. Stay tuned to our social media platforms. You can find the Trinidad and Tobago Coalition of Services Industries on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. All right, so Mr. Taylor is our Operations Research Trade Portal Analyst. Thank you for delivering the vote of thanks, Mr. Taylor. All right, so we have come to the end of our session today. I think it is a very valuable session, a lot of knowledge that has been imparted to us. And I just want to wish each and every one of you all a day, a productive day, a safe and productive day. And if there are any questions, you can always reach out to the TTCSI team. They're always there to answer the questions and even to put you in touch with some of the persons who would have presented today from Curacao. So I just want to wish each and every one of you all a fantastic day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Joan. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye. Mhm.